The truth about men who live alone, without a girlfriend. Ever wonder what it's like for a man who chooses to live alone, not out of necessity, but because he truly wants to? In a world that constantly tells us happiness comes from being in a relationship, where success is measured by companionship and solitude is feared, there's a different kind of man. This man isn't lonely or incomplete. Instead, he embraces solitude as a path to strength, self-discovery, and peace. Society often views a man who lives alone without a girlfriend as someone who must be miserable. But what if that's not true? What if solitude is not a weakness, but a superpower? Imagine a man who walks his own path, finding emotional validation from within, not from others. This man is stronger, more resilient, and more in tune with himself than most people will ever be. Throughout history, some of the greatest minds, philosophers, warriors, and visionaries have spent long periods of time in solitude. Not because they had to, but because they knew something most people don't. Solitude is an opportunity to master yourself, to sharpen your mind, to live with discipline, and to become a man who doesn't need external validation. The ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, believed that the key to happiness wasn't found in relationships, wealth, or status. Instead, they believed in self-mastery, in controlling your mind, emotions, and actions. That's what we're going to explore today. This isn't about dissing relationships or saying having a partner is wrong. It's about understanding the wisdom in standing on your own, finding happiness without relying on anyone else. A man who learns to thrive in solitude is a man who is truly free. And according to the Stoics, freedom is the foundation of a powerful and meaningful life. So, if you've ever felt like you're different for choosing independence, if you've wondered whether living alone means you're missing out, or if you just want to understand the deeper strength that solitude offers, stick around. We're about to uncover 7 powerful truths about the man who walks alone. Truth 1. He masters the art of self-sufficiency. There's a unique strength in knowing you can rely on yourself for everything. Most people depend on others for emotional support, financial stability, or even just to get through the day. But a man who lives alone doesn't have that luxury. He doesn't have a partner to help manage his emotions, cook meals, or remind him of the little things. No one splits the bills or steps in when things get tough. At first, it can feel overwhelming, but over time, it builds an incredible sense of self-sufficiency. If you don't cook, you don't eat. If you don't clean, you live in a mess. Everything is up to you, and that realization fosters independence. The Stoics taught that a man should stand on his own. Seneca once said, "He who is content with the least is the richest," reminding us that contentment lies in self-sufficiency, not in luxury. This mindset is not just about money. It's about understanding that you don't need constant companionship or external validation to feel whole. A man who can provide for himself and manage his life is truly free. Truth 2. He embraces solitude as a source of strength. Most people fear being alone. They associate solitude with loneliness. But the man who truly understands himself doesn't just tolerate solitude, he embraces it. He doesn't need distractions, social interactions, or meaningless relationships to fill the empty space. Instead, he uses solitude to think, reflect, and grow. The Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius, believed solitude is one of the most powerful tools for self-discovery. By removing external noise, a man can finally hear his own thoughts. He can reflect on his goals, his purpose, and his weaknesses without the influence of others. A man who embraces solitude doesn't fear silence. He seeks it to train his mind, develop mental clarity, and become stronger in the process. Truth 3. He develops emotional control and inner peace. A man who lives alone isn't reactionary. He doesn't let emotions control him. Life throws many challenges, disappointments, frustrations, setbacks. But a man who has embraced solitude moves through it all with calm and discipline. The Stoics believe true strength comes from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." When you're forced to deal with your emotions on your own, without a partner constantly reassuring or validating you, you develop unshakable emotional control. Living alone forces a man to confront himself, face his emotions, and handle them without relying on anyone else. This internal discipline leads to greater emotional stability, allowing him to remain unshaken by external forces. Truth 4. Freedom is a rare thing. In today's world, most people are trapped in debt, toxic relationships, jobs they hate, or lifestyles that drain them. But the man who lives alone enjoys something rare: freedom. The Stoics taught that true wealth is not about having a lot, but about needing little. Without the financial or emotional obligations of a relationship, he has full control over his finances. He isn't pressured to spend to impress anyone. But financial freedom is only part of the equation. The real power comes from mental freedom, the ability to make decisions based on logic and personal growth, not societal expectations or emotional obligations. This kind of freedom allows a man to take risks, change careers, or move cities without compromising his dreams for the sake of a relationship. He is the sole architect of his life. Truth 5. He cultivates a deeper sense of purpose. Most people drift through life, chasing external pleasures and distractions, relationships, money, status, thinking that happiness comes from these things. But a man who lives alone, who has embraced solitude, turns inward. He finds his true sense of purpose. In solitude, there are no distractions, no one to impress. You are left with your thoughts, your desires, and your ambitions. The Stoics believe that a man's highest calling is to live with purpose and virtue. Without distractions, a solitary man has the time and space to reflect and act deliberately toward his goals. He wakes up every day with a mission, not because others expect it, but because he expects it of himself. This single-minded pursuit of purpose is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Truth 6. He forms stronger, more meaningful connections. The irony of solitude? The more comfortable a man becomes with being alone, the stronger his relationships become. A man who embraces solitude doesn't waste time on shallow relationships. He chooses quality over quantity. He values depth, not superficial interactions. By mastering solitude, a man isn't needy. He doesn't chase attention or validation. He forms connections based on shared values and mutual growth. And this makes him incredibly attractive. He's not desperate for companionship. Instead, he enjoys the company of others, knowing his happiness doesn't depend on anyone else. Truth 7. He becomes a true Stoic, unshaken by external circumstances. A man who lives alone learns to be unshakable. He doesn't panic when things go wrong or crumble under pressure. He's not influenced by other people's emotions or opinions. He moves through life with unbreakable calm, discipline, and self-assurance. This is the essence of Stoicism, accepting life as it is without complaint or fear. A man who has mastered solitude knows that happiness doesn't come from external sources. He is content with himself, unshaken by rejection or setbacks. He is free, and that freedom makes him truly powerful. Conclusion: the power of living alone. According to Stoicism, what have we learned? The man who lives alone is not weak or lost. He is strong, self-sufficient, emotionally stable, and free. He chooses quality over quantity in relationships and is at peace with himself. Living alone doesn't mean a man is incomplete. It means he has mastered himself. He is not controlled by external pressures or emotional turmoil. The truth is, the most powerful and successful men are those who don't need anyone to validate their worth. They choose to share their lives with others only when it adds value. The Stoics taught that freedom and happiness begin with self-sufficiency. To live a meaningful life, you must master your own mind, emotions, and actions. So, if you've ever felt like solitude makes you weak, remember this: the man who learns to thrive alone is unstoppable.